This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Mark Magnuson.
Hello and welcome into Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. Today is Tuesday, October 18th, 2022, and we're so glad you could join us for today's show. And in today's episode, I talk with some of the folks at Exile Brewing's unveiling of a special all-Iowa beer this past weekend. We also have a look at the ag weather outlook, but first, let's run down the markets.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
At the end of another trading day, we are joined by Jacob Burks from agmarket.net. Jacob, what did we see on the grain markets today?
We saw all red all day long. It was a day that we had a lot of pressure coming in. A lot of it can be blamed on harvest pressure. A lot of it can be just blamed on range-bound trades, if you will. Some lighter volume, but the corn market actually settled on the day towards the highs. So 681 3/4 in the December corn, just a couple pennies off the highs of the day. The soybeans, started off strong all day long and then ended up making a pretty good move to the south side. In the middle of the day, we did pop about 8 cents off the lows here to wrap things up. In the wheat market, couldn't catch much of a bid all day long, but we had a very wide range. We ended up having a 34-cent range on the day in the Chicago wheat, so we closed in about the middle of that range. But it was a red day all day long. You have a lot of different things going on in the soybean meal market. So you get the soybean meal going down, $8 on the day, traded down around 402 towards the close, with the soybean oil up $1.80. So you got quite a bit of divergence there in the soy complex.
Jacob, a story that we've been talking a lot about recently is, of course, the Mississippi River, those low levels. And then a little bit ironically, you take a look at some of the reports from the USDA, we're actually ahead of schedule by the 5-year average on a lot of those harvest numbers as far as corn and soybeans are concerned. So we have a lot of grain out there, but we can't necessarily move it all. So what is that doing to the markets?
First of all, the people that can be very grateful of the Mississippi River are the processors to the west. It's one of the more unique dynamics as far as the grain trade in many years. We're seeing Illinois corn go to Texas. We're seeing river market corn go to processors in Nebraska, and so there's a large dynamic of basis trade that could be really, really extreme, that might be getting a little bit of good news from the river market corn and beans that are not floating down the river. So when you got a smaller capacity that you can put down there, you got to remember there is still some barge traffic moving. It's just at about a 70% rate. So there's still corn and beans going down the river, but it's just not near as efficient as what we need to be. But we're seeing rail, we're seeing shuttle loaders, bid up for some corn and beans, but not like they probably would have to if we were getting more shipped down the river. So it's a different dynamic than we've seen in a long time, or probably ever. You got river levels at St. Louis that are in the top 5 or 6 lowest levels ever, and you got the Memphis. Some of these southern areas are really the juggernaut, where we're seeing record lows nearly. I think the second lowest level ever at Memphis the other day, the last report I saw.
And fingers crossed, it doesn't look like any rain in the immediate future, but maybe next week we could have some rainfall. So I guess that's what we'll hope for. Jacob, what was the story today on the livestock side of the markets?
Live cattle, took the feeder cattle, kind of led the way on the way up, as the corn market is taking a breather there. We've seen some good cash trade across most of the plains. We have $1.50 higher in the feeder cattle. You have really a technical U-shaped bottom with somewhat of a breakout to the top side here in these feeder cattle. And I think as the market started to prove that it wanted to go higher, you see hopefully some of these shorts covering, kind of a short covering rally, if you will, the record position that they built in the funds, and that could be something that we're seeing build here. But we did close above the range high, so that's very solid in the feeder cattle. On the live cattle, October put in a new high for the contract yesterday and another one again today. So live cattle is just showing quite a bit of strength here as the cash market has stayed strong. The market that October's had to come up to catch it. All the way out through there, we had a solid day in the live cattle, and in the hog market, $1.80 higher in February. So that was and $2 higher across most of the board. So cash has just been strong. We've seen strong exports across the hog complex, and technically it's been ready for a bounce, and they just keep adding on to it. We do have some resistance that we came up to today, so be real curious to how we trade that here as we go forward.
He's Jacob Burks from agmarket.net. Jacob, for more analysis, if our viewers and listeners want to get in touch, how can they do so?
Hey, simply look us up at agmarket.net. Take a look at our 30-day free trial of our agmarket.net intel. We'd love to chat with you. You can find us there on the About Us page.
Jacob, thank you so much for the time today, and we'll look forward to speaking again soon.
You bet. Have a great day. Thanks for having me.
December corn is down 2.5 at $6.81 even. November soybeans down 13.25 at $13.72 even. Soybean meal for December down $9.20 at $401.80. Soybean oil for December up $1.90 at $68.74. Chicago wheat is down 11.5 at $8.49.5. Minneapolis wheat up 0.75 cents at $9.56 even, and Kansas wheat down 7.5 at $9.44.5. December oats down 1 3/4 at $3.87 1/4. On the Merc, October live cattle up 60 cents at $148.47. October feeder cattle up 7 cents at $174.82. Lean hogs for October down 5 cents at $93.37. Pork cutouts for December up $1.30 at $96.52. And Class 3 milk for October down 2 cents at $21.74. And that's been a check of the Ag Market Recap here on Ag Matters PM. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association, and the Soy Checkoff. And when we come back, I will visit with the folks at Exile Brewing this past weekend for a special all-Iowa beer. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. Last weekend, Exile Brewing Company here in Des Moines held a special event to unveil a new special all-Iowa beer. Several producers that made the inputs that went into the beer and also collaborators were at the event to talk about what went into creating this new special IPA. Up next, I'm going to speak with Mike Bretz. He is a Northeast Iowa farmer. Mark Magnuson here with the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and we are at Exile Brewing in downtown Des Moines, and I'm joined by Mike Bretz. Mike, we're here for a special beer that is being put out by Exile. It's called Born Here, Brewed Here. And Mike, what was your part of the process going into this beer?
Yeah, so we grew rye, and the rye is the main component of this new beer. It is a rye IPA.
And Mike, how, first of all, did this idea come about? Did someone just reach out to you and say, hey, we're looking to make an Iowa beer with Iowa ingredients?
Okay. Yeah, we were actually growing the rye as part of we've adopted on our farms what we call regenerative agriculture. And with that, we're doing a small grain rotation. So we do a corn, soybean, small grain. And that small grain could be wheat, rye, or oats. And then in between those, we do a multi-species cover crop, so we always have something on the ground. This particular rye was the first time I ever grew it. We purchased the farm that our grandparents bought in like 1920, and I can tell you, no one has ever grown rye here before. But we got the rye growing, and it did fantastic. It's planted in October. There was zero weeds, just no weed pressure at all. We harvested it in late July. And then that particular rye was malted by Eric Miller out of Miller Malting in Cascade, Iowa. And then conversations started going with various breweries, and that's how we got kind of connected with Exile. And they tell me it's different than the normal rye.
That's very interesting. And first of all, where is your operation located?
Okay, we're a little town called Coggan, Iowa, north of Cedar Rapids, and on the southern end of Buchanan County.
So you mentioned, you're rotating those crops. We know soybeans, corn grow very well in our soil here in Iowa, but it sounds like rye also does pretty well.
Rye does really well, the wheat did well, as well as oats too. Each one of those has its own special characteristics, if you will. So on the wheat front, fantastic, plant in the fall, cover the soil through the winter time. Harvested early July, it allows us to get another cover crop planted after that we can then graze the cattle on. Difficulty with wheat is there's not really a good a place to sell it that's local, and it can get expensive to haul it to the Missouri River or something like that. Rye is very similar to that. You plant it in October, good allelopathic weed suppression, harvest it in late July, and then it's not a commodity that's out there. So you're either looking at selling it as possibly seed for others to use as cover crop, or in this case we sold it to be malted for the breweries, or you could sell it as grain. I have not done that yet. And then third one would be oats. And of oats, we're the most used to it. There's the best market for it, but it's also the lowest price when you go to sell it. So last year rye was our most profitable crop out of all of them, because it's a very low input cost. There's very little that you need to do while it's growing. So you kind of have planting and harvesting and then spend some time on your marketing.
Sustainability and regenerative agriculture were also a big part of the creative process behind this beer. Sean McMahon of the Iowa Ag Water Alliance talked about what farmers can do to help the state continue to have that high quality water and also to promote good soil health. Mark Magnuson with the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and we are joined here by Sean at Exile Brewing. We're in downtown Des Moines, and they have a special beer they're putting together. It's called Born Here, Brewed Here. And Sean, how are you involved in this project? First of all, let's start off. Where are you working from? Who are you with? And what is your job title?
Yeah, so I'm the executive director of the Iowa Agriculture Water Alliance, and we work out of Ankeny, office out of the Iowa Soybean Association.
I was just there the other day. I didn't see you, Sean.
Yeah, Iowa Soybean, Iowa Corn, and Iowa Pork are our founding members, Mark.
Okay, and so the IAWA, what is your main mission?
Yeah, we help farmers improve water quality, and we helped implement the Iowa Nutrient Reduction Strategy. And now we have a really fun and cool way to improve water quality, and that's by drinking this amazing, delicious beer.
And that's totally true. We've been talking today about everything going into this beer is from Iowa, and that's just kind of a neat thing. Could you tell us how you got involved in this process of even making this beer?
Yeah, so it's a whole series of beer called the Born Here, Brewed Here series. So as you mentioned, all the ingredients are from Iowa. So in this particular beer, which is Volume 1 Rye IPA, we have rye, barley, and hops sourced from Iowa farmers. So we got involved when we learned that there was an effort to make the first of its kind series of beers, and they needed some help lining up farmers. And so we very eagerly signed on, and we think this is just a fantastic way to improve water quality, because all of those small grains like barley and rye and wheat, they put living roots in the soil when we need it most, when we're most vulnerable to soil erosion and nutrient loss. And that's after planting, before the corn and soybeans are established, and after harvest. And so just by creating a market for small grains or cover crops, that helps to improve water quality. But Exile Brewing is very generously donating $5 per case to IAWA, and we'll be using that to improve water quality right here in the North Raccoon and Des Moines River watersheds, where the water comes from for this beer.
And we heard from some of the people here at Exile that the water quality, of course, here in Des Moines, in Iowa, is great for a beer like this, and that just kind of goes to show you that yes, these steps are important, because we can continue to have fun things like great tasting beer.
That's right, yeah. Beer is mostly water, 90 to 95% water. And we have a number of different projects that are improving water quality in the North Raccoon and the Des Moines River watershed. One of them is a public-private partnership called the Midwest Agriculture Water Quality Partnership. We co-lead that with IDALS. And we've already improved conservation on 4 million acres, including 3 million acres of improved fertilizer management, over 700,000 acres of cover crops, over 200,000 acres of no-till and strip-till, and over 50 wetlands, saturated buffers, and bioreactors, much of which is being done in the Des Moines and North Raccoon watersheds.
Because this brewing project helps to promote regenerative agriculture, RJ Tersey, who is the owner and co-founder of Exile Brewing, was excited to be involved. Mark Magnuson for the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and I'm joined by RJ Tersey. He is the owner and founder of Exile Brewing here in Des Moines, and we are in downtown Des Moines at Exile today for a special occasion. RJ, could you turn the can that way? Let's show it off a little bit. It's the Born Here, Brewed Here series of beers. And RJ, let's start with first things first. How did this process come about for this beer?
Sure. So in one of our annual meetings last year, we had a discussion about what's the next initiative that we want to add to our Exile Builds program, which is our philanthropic arm here at Exile. And we decided on, hey, we want to grow awareness for regenerative agriculture. We're here in Iowa, we're in Des Moines. Obviously, agriculture is it's everything to Iowa, right? And so what better thing to do than to try and promote regenerative agricultural practices. So after that happened, I can't remember exactly how he reached out to me, but gentleman Evan reached out. I think he was inviting me to a conference in eastern Iowa about regenerative ag. I couldn't make it. However, he seemed like he was connected, so we got him going with Max, our director of operations. He hooked us up with some Iowa farmers that had the ingredients, and then I believe Michelle, actually, who's one of our marketing associates, had a relationship with the Iowa Agricultural Water Alliance, and so we were able to bring these different elements together.
And RJ, everything that went into this beer is from Iowa, correct?
It is, yeah. So the water, of course, we always use Iowa water, but the hops were grown by Bobst Hops, just over in Altoona. The malt was grown here in Iowa and then malted by Miller Malting. Yeast is a little bit of a different product, but all the typical agricultural products were grown here in Iowa.
And the rye came from Mike Brett's in Northeast Iowa as well. Is it typical is rye in every beer?
No, rye is not in every beer. It's definitely a unique beer if it has rye in it. Typically people are using barley as opposed to rye, just because of certain characteristics in barley that make it conducive for brewing. But the rye that we got from Mike is turned out really well in the beer. It has a nice, actually a fruity flavor as opposed to a spicy flavor, which you usually get from rye. But we love the way that it turned out.
So with this beer specifically that we're talking about today, was it the first batch, was it the one, or did you have to tweak it a little bit, try things differently?
It was the first batch. Yeah, it was the first batch. So Joey, our head brewer here at Exile, he has a lot of experience. He's been our head brewer for, I think, 7 years at this point, and has worked here for longer than then. So he does a great job. He was a little bit nervous about using some of these new ingredients that we didn't have a lot of experience with, but like I said, he does a great job, was able to put it together, and this is it.
And a special beer like this, about how many cans are going to be sold, and are they going to be sold just here in Des Moines, here in Iowa? What's the range going to be?
Sure. I think it's several hundred cases, maybe 500 or 600 cases, so not a huge batch, but it's a good start for us. This is our first, it's Born Here, Brewed Here, Volume 1, right? So we're hoping to build the partnership, build the program. We'll be selling them here at Exile. We'll be selling them in central Iowa for sure. And then I know that when I saw them coming off the line, there were some pallets that were marked for eastern Iowa as well. So it'll be all across Iowa.
Do you think that potential buyers of this beer, just hearing that everything that goes into it are ingredients from Iowa, is going to pique their interest and make them think, hey, I do think I want to try that beer?
I hope so. I mean, it's the all Iowa ingredients, and then it is the the fact that the ingredients that we use, particularly the rye and the malt, is grown on a regenerative farm, using some of those regenerative practices. So getting back to the original goal of the program, it was to build that awareness. And so we're hoping that there are people in Iowa that are concerned with water quality, concerned with soil quality. Everyone should be, for sure. And we're hoping that they'll buy a product that works to build water quality and build soil quality.
The special Born Here, Brewed Here Rye IPA will be a limited release available in stores around the state. As for right now, let's take a look at the ag weather outlook. We've fallen into a little bit of a pattern here weather-wise, as we've had sunny skies throughout the day across much of the state of Iowa, although it has been cool. We've had temperatures in the 40s for the most part, and then in the evening hours we've dipped down into the 20s, and now tonight we're even going to see temperatures drop into the teens. As for right now, let's take a look at what the National Weather Service has in store for the next 24 hours.
As you can see from the National Weather Service, a little bit warmer today, but still cold temperatures in the low to mid 40s. Tonight, clear and cold once again this evening, lows from the mid-teens to mid-20s across the state. Tomorrow, mostly sunny with the warm-up continuing. Highs will be a little bit better for us in the mid-40s to mid-50s. Looking at the affiliate weather map for tomorrow, Cherokee will see sunny skies and a high of 53. Shenandoah sunny and a high of 54. Des Moines mostly sunny with a high around 50. Albia sunny and 50 as well. Waterloo sunny skies and a high of 47. And Clinton sunny tomorrow with a high of 48.
For a more detailed forecast in your part of the state, check with your local Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network affiliate. And that also brings us to the end of this episode of Ag Matters PM. You can find all of our daily content on our website at iowaagnet.com. You can also follow us on social media on Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. And you can find all of our video content and previous episodes of AM/PM on our YouTube channel. And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe so that you can find all of our latest videos. Also, don't forget our free twice-daily market podcast on Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. From the IARN studios in Des Moines, I'm Mark Magnuson. On behalf of Riley Smith and Dustin Huffman, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.